To the break room, classic film fans. It's tea time for a coffee break.
Can you get Cab Calloway on it?
Can you get it?
That's my patty waist sugar.
I'm shocked the gambling is going on in here.
By the way, how is your father?
The hidey-ho.
But I want to know, does it bother you?
Welcome back to the coffee house. If you are new, come on in, grab a seat around the coffee table. If you are a veteran, you know the drill, you know the routine. Get your coffee mug, whatever it is that you're drinking, and it's time for a little coffee talk. First, I want to say thank you so much to all the people who wished me a happy birthday last week. It was one of the best birthdays ever. I will have something hopefully soon to share with you guys from my birthday. I already did like a birthday video showcasing the gifts to self, since I had to bring the town to me since I couldn't go out on the town as I normally do, as well as gifts from friends. So thank you so much for all the wishes and gifs and everything. So thank you so much for those. I did have something that I actually found on my birthday. Not really found, it was like in plain sight, but I don't think it was anything I thought about sharing or anything I just even really thought about. You know, when you have something on display, you walk past it every day and you don't really give it much thought outside of that. But it is a June 20th book that I think I've had at least, I want to say at least since I was 11 or 12 maybe. So I've always kept this with me on display out loud, but it's not anything that I've even really thought to share. But I have such a wonderful Fashion Friday to bring you guys this week. I may not get time to share this with you, but there are a lot of film, cinema, trivia in here, including some on the waterfront trivia for June, which I am like beaming about. So if I don't get to it this week, I will definitely get to it next week, although we will be in July. But I will definitely get to it next week to showcase with you guys, as I have something else that I left out last week that was a request from someone who wanted to see it. Also a cinema connected piece. So I will share both of those. If I don't get time to share them today, I will share both of them with you next week. This week I am so excited because it is a personal connection. It is a personal connection because it is a family connection, my family connection. As you may have heard me talk about several times on social media, and you have heard me talk about in the past on Fashion Friday Cinema Coffee Chats, my Aunt Bettye. I have shared with you guys that she was even listed, she is credited as being the first Black modeling institution, Black modeling school in Chicago in the 40s. And I thought, let's do it this week. I am so excited to bring some insight on my Aunt Bettye. And I'm going to show you guys, I have my makeshift coffee table. I have my makeshift coffee table on my lap, and I don't know if this is going to work, so I'm going to sit it down. Give me 1 second. All right, so I decided to put it on a real table, but I have this, my dad gave me this photo. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, there we go. This is a young Aunt Bettye. And I'll probably edit this in, as I'm going to do most of the photos that I have to share with you guys. I will edit them into the video as we go along. My Aunt Bettye, she was my granny, which I call granny. I had grandmother on my mom's side, and I'd called granny on my dad's side, just to separate, differentiate between the two. My granny's aunt was Aunt Bettye. She was prolific. She was a pioneer and is labeled as such as the following states: from the Tri-State Defender, pioneer in the field of charm schools for Negroes interested in breaking in the professional field. Crest models. Of course, that term being used in the 50s, as this was from a 1956 publication. She is also credited as founder of the Crest Model School on Chicago's South Side. She really set forth in a field that was not catered to us, in an industry that it was not necessarily catered to Blacks, in the sense of being the trailblazers for it, the face for fashion and high-end fashion at that, couture, fashion designing and modeling. and my Aunt Betty, which Aunt Betty Everett Lightsy, and it is spelled in a different variations of ways. I think it has a lot to do with the stage, you know, your stage name, as it is spelled B-E-T-T-Y, B-E-T-T-Y-E, which is the one most referenced and the one I like. And I think because Betty E for Everett, Betty E Lightsy, I think the E just kind of migrated over to the Betty, you know, B-E-T-T-Y-E, Betty Lightsy, B-I-T-T-I-E. I mean, it's a variations of different names, and I just guess that high-end way of how you tack on your stage name to add a little bit of intrigue. I just find that fascinating. But she was the founder, owner, operator of Crest Model School. It can be found as Crest Models School, Crest Modeling School, Crest Finishing School. She was the founder of that, and she was a veteran model herself. Opened up an institution where Blacks would be able to showcase their talent in the field of fashion. That was predominantly white in that time, in that era. Learned about my Aunt Betty just through family history, but mostly just through my dad, who remembers my Aunt Betty well and would tell me stories about her, as well as my own digging, my own research, and going through family photos that we have of her, which I have showed you guys in the past, some of them, and I will be showing more of them for you today. In finding her modeling school, her modeling institution, she was able to travel across Europe, if you will, across the world with her Crest modeling agency, from Paris, the fashion capital, London, Denmark, Italy, where she would go to bring back influences, bring back pieces, things that were ahead of the fashion game, to bring back to her modeling school for her models, so they can be ahead of the game and know what the latest trends were, the latest styles were, the latest fabrics, the latest fashions. My favorite photos definitely being the ones where she is standing in front of Jacques Fat and Jacques Grief. I love that photo. I have shared that many times. That is my favorite photo of her. It's just so couture, it's so high-end, it's so high fashion. During that time in the 1950s, for Black models, for Black women to be models, it was a very low rate. Only 2,000 were successful in being models. It was not a field widely open to us. And of that 2,000, you know, it is stated that only like maybe 1% of that would become successful. So that was one of her pushes to push ahead, that let's make this a more open thing, a more open space for Black women to break into a field that we can be a part of, that we can be at the forefront of in the industry. She came at a time when it was really essential for Blacks to be in that position, to have a platform where we were showcased, where we were seen, where we can see ourselves in a field, in a medium that was predominantly white, something that we can see our face on and be our image of, and be seen in a way not stereotypical, but in a way that, you know, represented who we are, to show us in high fashion and in clothes that looked well, dressed well, suited well, was able to showcase us in a positive light, in a positive image. For Black girls to have a voice, a platform, a setting, to allow them the opportunity to be seen, to be heard. Much as with some of the things that I'm going to share with you guys personally, the Crest philosophy. This is a program, a brochure, if you will, of the Crest Modeling Agency. The unforgettable woman knows who she is and expresses it in her every move, her style of dress, and her manner. The Crest woman is ageless. She can go anywhere. She knows how to do things, when to do them, and what is appropriate for the enhancement of herself and those around her. Checking up on Paul Revere. If you watched last week's Fashion Friday, you know where I'm going with this. But anyhow, this is my Aunt Betty. You can see her. There she is on there. As with the photos that we have that have her name on it, it does have it spelled with the E, as I was telling you guys. If you can see it, okay. I think it's like right in there somewhere, Bettye. So on the program is also, or the brochure rather, and this is the front of it, and there you are. If you, there we go. There we go. If you can see it, that's the other side of the brochure. The motto was, "To the unforgettable woman you are." Like a boss. Her modeling courses, they were 6 months. They were $125. And for that 6 months, you really learned a lot. There was really a lot that went into making the model per se, making the model. And there is a piece I'm going to share with you guys, what makes a model, where my Aunt Betty, she was questioned for some insight. The piece is featuring her. It is spotlighting her, or asking her, what does she think it takes to be a model, where she puts in place what it is she does, what it is she brings to what it takes to be a model, from personal experience, from being a model, and from being owner, operator, and teacher in the Crest Modeling School. But with her courses, she provided how to pose for photographers, how to walk properly, how to enter a room, your diction, figure control, hairstyling, dieting, etiquette, wardrobe care, exercising, how to use makeup. I mean, it was really a full course that she was providing, everything that you needed to know that was essential to being a model. And really, if you think about it, a lot of it has to do with being a lady, especially of that time, to present yourself well, to have poise and distinction and sophistication when you present yourself. So it was really a course that she was teaching how to be the best you, how to be the best thing that you are, which is such a lead-in to the quote that when she was asked what it takes to be a model. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys right now. "Most girls come to me," says Miss Lightsy, "because they are ugly ducklings in search of charm and grace to utilize in their respective professions. My most astute pupils become models in their spare time. The only qualification I have for girls entering the school is that they are clean and have an inclination to learn. I once turned down a very beautiful girl because she lacked cleanliness." I like, really? Okay. So yes, I'm hoping cleanliness would be something that you would know before we got there. But hey, yes, like, okay, let's keep it real. I actually liked that idea that even ugly ducklings, I mean, I think we all look at ourselves, I guess I'm speaking from personal experiences, as at times, you know, you do feel like the ugly duckling. You have to do this and you have to do that and you have to wear this in order to bring out the best you. And then when you start learning that, you know, some of these things are just accessories because you are who you are, that self-confidence that you have before you put anything on, you know, makeup or your hairstyle or your clothes, that's just an accessory of who you are. So I love that she's saying that ugly ducklings come to her, but yet it's the ugly ducklings who can still be turned into whatever your definition is of glamour or sophistication in your spare time, which, I mean, in this case, she's just saying, if you want to learn in cleanliness, those are the qualifications that you need to get started. So that's just a quote that I wanted to share with you guys. It's also referenced in Polishing Brown Diamonds in a publication that I think came out in 2005, where she is saying that. So my Aunt Betty, she lives on. She lives on. So remember, cleanliness. And yes, there was graduation. If you graduated the course, where you succeeded with your 6 months course. As with a thread that I started earlier this month, a few weeks ago in June, highlighting specific Black entertainers, not just filmmakers, just Black entertainers who are not as well known by some or by many, but they had a voice, and not only had a voice are the reasons that Blacks even became in the position that they became in, who started something at the very beginning, if not credited as the first, one of the first. For me, they are entertainers, they are people, individuals that I was sharing prior to just creating a specific thread for it to have it where you can just find it all listed as one. But these are people that I knew growing up, that I learned along the way, and that I thought more people knew about. I started the thread off with Spencer Williams, most known for Amos and Andy, and yet, I mean, he was a pioneer. He was a trailblazer, a groundbreaker in directing, doing black race, what we call race films. But I started the thread off with that, and just really started highlighting in one place some of the people that, most of the people, all of the people that I have highlighted in the past, just to give them a voice. And of those people that I have been naming in the thread and in the past are some of the people that are connected, well connected with my Aunt Bettye. I mean, she was surrounded and was up close and personal. Some names that are household names, some names that you see with classic cinema, classic entertainment, classic music all the time, from Mahalia Jackson, Cordy King, she was engaged to Sammy Davis Jr. at one time. Billy Daniels, who was actually a special guest at one of my aunt's fashion shows in 1952, where he sung That Old Black Magic, a song that I have always identified with, or who comes to mind is Louis Prima, and yet is a song that Billy Daniels is most known for. So he sung that song at the fashion show he was a guest for my aunt's fashion show in 1952. That Old Black Magic, written by Johnny Mercer, lyrics, and Harold Arlen. And Billy Daniels himself being a pioneer, a trailblazer. He was one of the first blacks, as with Maxine Sullivan on radio. Maxine Sullivan and her husband, her musician husband, John Kirby, who were some of the first blacks to have their own radio show in the 1940s called Flow Gently Sweet Rhythm, which I have talked about previously. But Billy Daniels also was one of the first blacks to have his own radio show, as well as being one of the first blacks, as with Hazel Scott in the 1950s with her Hazel Scott Show, being one of the first black performers, entertainers to have her own telly show. Billy Daniels was one of the first blacks to performers to also have his own television show. Not to discredit or take away from Nat King Cole, which I have threaded about his experience with television. It was unfortunate what happened to his telly show, which is a perfect lead-in to Marie Cole, Nat King Cole's wife. She was also a special guest for my Aunt Bettye at one of her fashion shows, also in 1952 at the Bandbox Club in Chicago, which she had quite a few events at the Bandbox Club for fashion shows. And also we family with family. This is a photo, this one here. Well, I guess for me, that my dad's cousin, so it's like a great cousin for me, Stella, which is right here, who was modeling for my aunt. This is one of the fashion shows that she had. So we also had family that was a part of the fashion shows that my aunt would have. This specific one with Maria Cole, under the society columns, it is mentioned that my aunt is wearing a $6,000 mink coat. Cadillac cars, mink coats, Stacy Moon. I really get wrapped up into that and into that life. So bear with me as I beam a little bit about that. And even wearing Dior, like a gold, a 24 karat gold, cue Bruno Mars, 24 karat gold dress, as well as photo shoots and photo cards. These are all of my Aunt Bettye. This is proof only. So official, so professional, proofs only. Putting on her makeup, striking a pose, getting glamorous, getting fit. So these are her proofs. Just like a contact sheet, you know, when we like I showed you guys the contact sheet that I have with Guys and Dolls. So just like a contact sheet. Same thing with models. You have a proof sheet and this is my Aunt Betty's proof sheet. During that show, it was a parade of 50 models that were all from Crest Modeling School, that were modeling the latest fashions for fall and winter. And we're gonna get to the Miss Sepia. I'm gonna show you some of these. We're gonna get to the Miss Sepia discussion here in a little bit. This is one of the contestants, one of the winners of the Miss Sepia beauty pageant, which we were going to get into in a moment, more of her models. And on the back, if you may be able to see it, you know, she has her stamp imprint, and that's my Aunt Bettye right here. This was 1972. The Crest Models Club presents the second annual Salute to Fashions. So this one's 1974, and this is your program of, and I'll try to have it where you can see some of it. Bettye, Lightsy, and Crest Modeling, Cosmic Photo Service, Crest Modeling School, Sepia Beauty Contest winners. So we're going to get into the Miss Sepia. We're going to get into the Miss Sepia Beauty Contest here in a little bit. And this year, this particular year, was a free trip to Jamaica. But it was 1953, it seems, to my personal perspective, that it seemed to be a turning point for my aunt, because it's 1953 that she started traveling abroad. I think her institution, her reputation, her platform had developed into such a way that it was only going up from there. That's when she started traveling abroad. She traveled on the Queen Mary for the first time in 1953, and that's where she was going to spend 2 months overseas in Europe, traveling between Paris and London, trying to bring back all the latest styles, the latest fashions, the latest things that were going on in the fashion capital, in the fashion world, in the fashion industry, and bring them back to her Crest Modeling School, because she held contests and she held events where these girls were able to participate in showcasing what they learned and being able to win those trips where they could go with her overseas from then on, throughout the 50s and 60s, where they can go over there and get a first-hand experience to seeing the fashion capital of the world in Paris, and spending 2 weeks over there, and really providing a platform, just like on the thread that I shared with you guys, Zelda Wynn Valdez, with her being not only a trained musician, but a fashion designer in a time, in a field not created for us to be a face of. She was able to also hold a platform in New York. She opened up her own boutique in 1948 called just Zelda Wynn, and later moved adjacent to Carnegie Hall in the 50s. Also becoming president of the National Association of Fashion and Accessories Designers New York chapter, where that's what they did. They instructed, she even opened up a school where she taught fashion designing to what they call young Harlem youth. But that was their structure, that was their platform, to specifically teach young blacks how to break into the industry, how to address discrimination and racial equality in the fashion industry. And in her own way, my Aunt Bettye was really doing the same thing, where she is allowing these opportunities to be had for young black girls who may not have had the opportunity otherwise. I've shared those pictures of that before, where she is in parades. It really was a broad field for her. I mean, from broadcasting, she also sponsored the Miss Sepia Beauty Contest, which that has a whole history of its own, dating back to 1931. You may also see it referred to as the Miss Sepia International Pageant. It was open for Canadians and for Black Canadians and Black Americans, for women, almost as an answer to the Miss America pageant that was catered specifically for Blacks to have their own beauty pageant, to allow them to be able to participate in that beauty pageant, that beauty contest. So she was the sponsor of quite a few Miss Sepia beauty pageants. She also did charity in 1951. All of her proceeds went to the Urban League. She was really just doing things at a time that it was important that these images be seen, that we be seen in this positive light, in this positive reflection of ourselves, to not feel that we too are sophisticated, we too can dress and look and be and feel a certain way, that it can come from within ourselves, that, hey, I see someone who looks exactly like me, and look how, that's something I want to aspire to. I want to look like that. I want to be poised. I want to showcase my inner beauty, which is something she also talks about. Sometimes it does take that natural beauty. Some of us, not us, but I mean us as in human beings do have that natural beauty, and it just takes a little polishing for you to see it, for it to show out loud. Another person I have shared that has a personal connection with my aunt is Sarah Lou Harris. Pauline Green, I've shared that, Pauline Green. But Sarah Lou Harris, she worked with my aunt. Now I've talked about her before in the past, and I just couldn't wait. I was trying my best to keep my mouth shut because I knew I wanted to do this story. I couldn't wait to share this connection between Sarah Lou Harris and my mom, Sarah Lou Harris, and my aunt. Sarah Lou Harris was a pioneer for Black models. She was the first Black model to be shown on a Lucky Strikes campaign in the 1940s. Also one of the first, if not the first, Black models featured in the New York Buyers fashion show. As part of the Bradford Lovelies, signed to the Bradford Modeling Agency, she participated in my aunt's fashion shows in the 50s for the fall of 1954. Where she showcased Asian influenced pieces. Again, pieces that my aunt was bringing back with her, influences that she was bringing back with her, so we can get a firsthand look, a firsthand experience with. And I would be remiss if I would get a bad family name if I did not mention some of the really heavy hitter, the name droppers, from Jesse Owens, Eddie Rochester Anderson, the singer Louis Jordan, the Nicholas brothers. She even had association with the Nicholas brothers, Ernie Banks. It's really a who's who in the industry. I mean, she was involved with. And then there's a photo that I shared with you guys on social media with Johnny Desmond during a broadcasting. So I mean, it's really an endless list of the who's who in the entertainment business, specifically and particularly the Blacks in the entertainment business that she was around, she was involved with, she was a part of. So she was in that crowd, in that circle, and they many who were special guests of hers or vice versa. So she was in that circuit of the Black entertainers of the time. And when she passed, to know that she is credited as being the first Black modeling school, finishing school institution for Blacks, you know, in Chicago. So I think that's trailblazing. That's pioneering. So let's get to work. And I think my favorite, I know it is, my favorite connection with my Aunt Betty, for you guys like who tuned in last week and who know me in real life and who just know me through social media, because I've said it so often. You guys know my love affair with Guys and Dolls, my traditional birthday watch. Yes, I did watch it after Noir Alley. I wasn't gonna let that pass. I watch it every year. But my favorite connection is a publication from the New York Age, which was a Black newspaper, a Black publication that started back in the 1880s. I want to say like 1887, that ran through 1953. Some sources credit it as, you know, closing up in 1960, but from about 1887 to 1953, we'll put it in that bracket. It was a New York publication, a Black newspaper ran by Blacks. She was featured in there under the New York is My Beat column. Okay, shout out to Broadway is My Beat, one of my favorite old-time radio shows. But under the New York is My Beat section, which I guess is like the society column, the entertainment column, if you will, written by Alan Macmillan. And under the headline with my aunt is Guys and Dolls, that was her headline, Guys and Dolls 19, and this was written in 1955, so it was 1955. Of course, Guys and Dolls came out in 1955, but I love that. And it was talking about her ongoings with the Miss Sepia pageant and how her and the winner of the pageant were about to embark on a 2-week trip to Paris. So that is one of my, I will have that little clip for you guys to show you guys. That is one of my favorite publications, because I'm like, Guys and Dolls, it runs in the family. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight to Crest Modeling School and my Aunt Betty. Unfortunately, she passed away in 1976 at the age of 52 from a heart attack. My dad telling me about how it was known that she was sick, and they called him to let him know that, you know, she was sick, but she passed away at 52. And to me that's young. I guess maybe just living in today's age, when you think of like 52 and how long lifespans, you know, go, 52 is, I don't know. youth to me, you can be 105 and still be youthful. That's just me. I mean, I think it's all a matter of who you are and how you look at life and how you utilize it, how you use it, you know, make every day count. She was a trailblazer. She was someone I think more people should know about. I think you guys should know about. I wanted to tell you about her. It's a pretty big story, a pretty grand story. And what I'm thinking about doing is writing this all up as an actual Cinema Coffee piece. I haven't done a written up Cinema Coffee piece in a while. I think the last one I did, I want to say it was for One-Eyed Jacks, but I'm pretty sure I've done one. I'm pretty sure I've done one after One-Eyed Jacks. I've done so many Cinema Coffee pieces, I am going to have to look that up. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to write this all up for you guys as also a written Cinema Coffee piece, because I wanted to do one. I wanted to do one for the young girls of Rushford. I wanted to do one on that, and I still might do that, and elevate it to the gallows. There's a lot of pieces that I need to be writing. So anyhow, I'm going to leave it here for this week's Fashion Friday. I hope I give you guys some insight. I hope you guys had fun learning about my Aunt Betty. Next week, we will return with more Fashion Friday Cinema Coffee, and until then, be safe, be well, stay healthy, stay home, and I'll see you next week. À bientôt.
Can you get Cab Calloway on it?
Can you get it?
That's my pattyway sugar.
I'm shocked. Gambling is going on in here.
By the way, how is your father?
Hidey ho.
But I want to know, does it bother you?